Here I'm going to show you how to install the keypad repair kit in the KX-TGA550 and 552 cordless phone from Panasonic. This one has a color screen, but the 550 has a black and white screen or single color screen. But the keypad's the same, and you've got this little joystick button here. The 551 is different, so it's a little confusing, the part numbers, but to get started, all you do is take the battery out, the battery cover off, and you take these two screws out. Now you're going to need a Phillips screwdriver, flathead screwdriver, small flat screwdriver, and some cleaning materials. I've got a rag, Q-tips, and rubbing alcohol, isopropyl alcohol. 90% isopropyl is the best, but 70% is more common if you've got that. Once you got the two screws out, I like to pry apart the bottom where you took the two screws, and I wedge my fingers in there and apply a little pressure. You don't want to just pull the phone apart because there's a speaker back here and you're going to break the wire. And you don't want to pry it apart because you'll damage the housing. You might stick the screwdriver in too far and break things. So you just apply a little pressure. With a flat screwdriver, you can just slide it up to where it won't go anymore, and usually it'll pop out. If it doesn't, it'll get tight, and then you just tweak it a little bit and the clip will pop out. There's one right here and there's one up here, the same on the other side. So now I wiggle it a little bit and the other one popped out, but if it doesn't, you can just slide the screwdriver up as far as it'll go and then tweak it a little bit. And then carefully take it off because you got that wire and it might be taped down here. Now this one has a couple covers that come off right there. I'm going to put everything in the battery holder, battery cover. Now we've got two screws down at the bottom that hold the charging pins in place. There's three screws here and they're smaller. They're much smaller than the two on the outside, so just be careful when you put it back in not to put the large ones. You know, they're a lot different. You don't want to put the large ones in here. So I got those three screws out. Just carefully take this out and fold it right over. Go. Now this one's already been cleaned, but there's usually oil in here, and that's what's causing the buttons to act up, oil and dirt. Now to install the kit, you just take this silver button, just comes right off, and very important to clean the circuit board first. I'm going to wet a rag with isopropyl rubbing alcohol and just wipe this down. If it's really bad, this one was pretty bad right around here when I first cleaned it, and you can just drip a little bit if you can and let it soak for a minute. Maybe go in with Q-tips. There was a lot of it right up here, and over time it can corrode stuff, so you really want to get that oil out of there. And while you're here, kind of look at the pins. There's three pins there, and just see if there's green or fuzzy corrosion in there. If there is, you want to get it out. You might use an old toothbrush and really let the isopropyl soak. Isopropyl is great because it won't harm any electronics except the microphone. You don't want to dump it on the microphone. So clean it up really good. The rubber keypad you can pull right out and wash in the sink, hot water, soap, or clean it with isopropyl, toothbrush, however you like. Sometimes you need to take out this button pad if you've spilled anything in there. And this you've got to be really gentle with. It would be better to soak in like warm water and very gently brush it because these will break off pretty easily, but if they do, you can just put them back in one at a time. It doesn't affect it if they do break off. It just makes it a pain. So make sure this is really dry before you put it back. Now we got to install the keypad repair kit. And this has got to be really clean, so make sure it's clean and not sticky or any oil or corrosion left. And then you just peel off the paper backing, and there's a hole for that button, and then there's a notch for the microphone, so it pretty much self-aligns like that. And then you just gently make sure it's down. You don't want to be pushing down or anything. It'll stay at this point. Now, this LCD gets dirty really easy. If you touch it, you'll have a big fingerprint on there, and it's hard to get off. If you use alcohol, you'll just leave streaks. I like to use a dry Q-tip and just rub any kind of smear until it's gone. And sometimes it's worse. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of glue from the edge. There was some sticky stuff left over from this foam. And I'm just sort of smearing it around. So I'm going to try a little bit of rubbing alcohol first. And usually what that'll do is leave us kind of a smear. So I'm going to get another one. And just sort of rub the dry Q-tip. And actually, you're never going to get it perfect, probably, or you don't really need to. Once it's installed and the LCD is on, you really don't see this stuff. It doesn't show up as good. Okay, so the keypad's installed, keypad repair kit, and this little silver button. Clean the dirt off of that. Just square little hole. It's right there. It doesn't really matter where that is. Now on this one, these charging pins have to go in first. There's a notch that goes over the back of the plastic, and then a pin that goes in a hole. So it's easy to line up if you realize that, because this notch in the plastic, this one is going to fit on this side, obviously. So, and you can't do it this way, so you know it goes over here, and that one goes there. So I'm going to put this like that. Okay, so now I'm going to grab the short screws, put the one up here at the top. Make sure those are correct still. Okay. And then we got the long rubber door that goes down at the bottom, and the shorter one right up here at the headset jack. Okay, now just make sure you don't pinch this wire under anything when you put it back together. It's pretty easy. Just make sure it's not sticking out. Start at the top and get that kind of lined up, and then the whole thing should snap in place. Got those last two screws. And just to let you know, these flat battery contacts are really not that great of a design. They work fine at first, but over time, the battery contacts might get a little messed up, or you might have a different battery with slightly different dimensions, and they're very picky, basically. So you want to clean those, make sure they're nice and clean. Rubbing alcohol and a Q-tip if there's anything built up on there, or you might have trouble. So now with the repair in there, you can't get the oil on the circuit board anymore because that membrane blocks it, and that black material doesn't wear out, so this should work indefinitely.